To pass historic tax cuts.
The pressure is on Congress to deliver.
We have absolutely no Democrat votes.
Have you tried?
Yeah, we've tried. And all they want to do is obstruct.
If this is going to be sort of Mitch McConnell writing this bill in the back room and trying to jam it through with 50 votes, that's not how we should legislate.
An explosive new report reveals the Obama administration knew Russia was using bribery and extortion to seize control of 20% of all U.S. uranium stockpiles.
These are unbelievable charges.
The NFL punning on anthem protests, saying kneelers won't be punished. It's a disgrace to us. We love our country and we don't like it, so we're just going to shut off the TV. We're not going to go to games, and they'll pay for it.
And the president has just tweeted out, Democrat Congresswoman totally fabricated what I said to the wife of a soldier who died in action.
She has been a lock-stock member of the resist movement from day one, and if she gets an opportunity to twist or spin the president's words, even if it's around a dead soldier, they will do it.
Finally, a country music song with drinking in it.
Parking lot party.
Right.
That reminds me of a football game. That's Lee Brice singing that song.
It is, and in fact, he's in our green room right now, fixing to get ready.
There he is. Hey, Lee.
Morning, Lee. He's going to be out today performing his super hit Boy.
Boy. He also sings I Drive Your Truck. Remember, we did that story?
Yeah.
He sang the song, and then Folds of Honor gave the truck, refurbished the truck that the dad had to sell to put his kids through college, I believe.
Right.
And the dad fought for our country, went overseas, was killed overseas. And they presented, Folds of Honor and Lee Brice presented that truck, the refurbished truck that the dad had sold, tracked it down, and gave it to the boys. And they sat behind it, and they were just weeping.
It is such a good story.
And I think Lee Brice knew about that.
He did.
And yeah, so he's going to be talking about that. But I like the fact that he is going to be acoustic, right? It's
Gonna be
just going to be
acoustic.
him. He is
I
not
thought you said
gonna have
acoustic. Acoustic. Okay, got it.
I say acoustic. How do you say it?
Acoustic is
I didn't know
what
what you were talking
pool
about at
with.
first. Did you understand that at
is
first?
what you play pool with.
Right.
Sorry.
Acoustic.
My grandmother always said,
You say acoustic. I say acoustic. Well, I'm going to stick with it.
All right.
All right.
Do you say tomato?
Take a cue to move on, Brian. Let's talk some taxes.
I'm proud of the way I say it.
You say taxes, I say Texas. You know what? You're right. Let's talk taxes. Okay, so this is what is going on, because we know so many of you are interested in the tax reform plan that the president and Republicans have been talking about. It looks like it's going to be a go to at least have the debate, because it looks as if they will vote on a budget proposal by Friday. The good news is their margin has increased because Senator Thad Cochran from the great state of Mississippi, who has been very ill lately, has returned to Washington and will be able to vote in the affirmative. And when that happens, if they get 50 votes plus Mike Pence, it looks as if that will put us on course to go ahead and have a reconciliation consideration for tax cuts.
Right, there are 52 Republican Republican senators, so they can only lose 2 votes if they want Mike Pence to be the tiebreaker. Those 2, it looks like, could be Senator Rand Paul, and Senator Ted Cruz won't tell whether or not he's going to support the measure.
I think Ted Cruz will definitely be in the end. But Senator McCain was supposed to be a maybe to a no. Seems more a maybe to a yes.
Same with Murkowski and Susan Collins.
So it was amazing yesterday that more Republican skirmishes, internal skirmishes. Now you have Rand Paul and Lindsey Graham going at each other via Twitter and via the soundbite. Here's Rand Paul on McCain and Graham not being conservative enough.
I'll vote for almost any tax cut that comes down. I'm for stimulating economic growth through a tax cut. But I won't do it and then say, oh, I don't care about spending. The budget vote to me is a symbol and a guidepost as to what we are as a party and what we stand for. And the people like McCain and Graham, who parade as conservatives but are not really conservative, they need to be called out. And they're playing the public, and they're playing us for fools. Neither one of them are conservative. These people will continue to throw wool over the eyes of the American voter and simply say, oh, we're conservative, and yet they pass stuff that is just frankly not conservative.
And what he's talking about is the fact that in this GOP budget thing they're going to vote on Friday, Senator Paul feels that Lindsey Graham and John McCain, among other senators who voted for the sequester caps, were spending too much money, and now they want to change the rules. Paul wants to get rid of $43 billion in overseas war funding that exceeds the caps from 2011. He says, look, a deal's a deal, and we're trying to save money. Don't spend more money than we've got.
Yeah, I can understand maybe him saying that about McCain just based on his voting record as of late. But Lindsey Graham, he was the one that tried to get the last repeal and replace passed, and he responded to that. He said this on Twitter. He said, getting more bad info, Rand Paul. Don't screw up tax reform now. You already saved Obamacare by trashing Graham, Cassidy, Heller, and Johnson.
So that is true. Here's the problem. Rand Paul could be all about fiscal responsibility, could be all about being conservative, but in the end, you're not an army of one. You have to get along with other people in order to do anything productive. Either you stay on the sideline to be a pundit or write editorials. You got to find something. Okay, I want to do the best I can to get a piece of legislation that's together with my principles, the best I can. But no one's going to get everything they want. Right. And look at the alternative if you hold out. I think people have a hard time understanding what he's thinking a lot of the time.
Compromising, negotiating. You're not going to get everything you want. You're absolutely right.
You can be a person of principle, but you have to at one point compromise. It's a team game.
So it looks as if the vote's going to be Friday, and at this point it looks like it will pass the Senate, which means then they will be able to have the talk about taxes coming up.
Meanwhile, let's talk about another thing that came up in the Rose Garden when the president decided, maybe impromptu, with Mitch McConnell to take some questions, one of which is getting a lot of traction. He got a hand that shot up, I'm not sure where it was from, that said, hey, whatever happened, Mr. President, did you call the family of the 4 slain Marines who lost their lives in Niger? At which time he says, I haven't called them yet, but I will call everyone. And unlike other past presidents, I do insist on calling in writing. And then everyone from the Obama camp and Bush camp said, wait a second, we did both too. And that kind of went back and forth, and it kind of caught steam when the president picked up the phone and called the family of one Green Beret Army man who obviously the family was going actually to meet the casket at the Dover Air Base.
So the plane lands and they bring out the casket. This was in Miami with the flag, of course, draped over it, of the 4 U.S. soldiers that were killed. And there is his wife. This was Sergeant LaDavid Johnson's wife. And yes, that is really hard to see because she clearly is mourning his death.
When earlier, the President of the United States did call the widow, Maisha, and apparently in the same car at the time was Florida Congresswoman, a Democrat by the name of Frederica Wilson. And she went on a number of shows yesterday and said that, and that's her right there, said that when the president contacted the widow, he said, essentially, this is one of those things. He knew what he signed up for, but I guess it still hurts. And then she was shocked by it. She said the Congresswoman, she felt it was terrible. She apparently said on one TV show, if she would have gotten the phone from the widow, she would have cussed or cursed the president.
It later became clear that she did not hear the whole conversation, only portions of it. She said it was on a speakerphone. So having said that, she went on the shows last night and all over this morning condemning the president in the most vile terms possible.
You know what? We saw the man's picture. Like, I think we should focus on who he was. He fought for our great country. There's his picture. Look at that man. And now his body is in a casket with the flag draped over it. And the president responded to that Democratic congressman down in Florida and said, Democrat congresswoman totally fabricated what I said to the wife of a soldier who died in action, and I have proof. Sad.
Well, Pete Hegseth was with us a little while ago. He has served this nation proudly. He also is one of the weekend co-hosts on Fox and Friends. And he says this is clear and simple politics.
They will take any line of argument they can against this president. She has been a lock-stock member of the resist movement from day one, and if she gets an opportunity to twist or spin the president's words, even if it's around a dead soldier, they will do it. We saw what they did with the Gold Star father at the convention. We saw how they carried that narrative forward, and they want to question at every turn what he says he's committed to. There's no one more committed, I believe, to our service members, to our veterans than this president. He's personally passionate about making sure we deliver for them. So they want to attack that with any piece of evidence that they do, and it wouldn't surprise me if he has proof. I bet they do record phone calls.
Well, the Congresswoman said on another channel this morning that the president is a sick man. In the past, she has said that the president is on the brink of impeachment. He's desperate for attention and needs psychological help. She skipped the inauguration. So maybe there are politics involved.
Yeah, maybe. I'd circle that word. So we'll find out what the deal is here. But I noticed the tone that she took and started looking down when the president tweeted out, and it was read back to her, that he had proof.
Here's the thing.
And she seemed to have changed her whole body language.
Here's the thing. If this were happening to me and I'm not in her shoes, I can't imagine what that's like. If this happened under Obama or President Trump and something happened to my child, no matter who the president is, if he's calling my house or she's calling my house to tell me that they're sorry about the loss of my child, I would be so touched that they took the time, the highest leader, the commander-in-chief, to call me and say, I'm sorry.
We have not heard from the family yet.
Right, the family has not said the president did anything wrong, but the woman who was in the car with her when the widow got the phone call, she is making a big story this morning, and so we thought we would tell you about it.
Make a big story about his tax reform, make a big story about Obamacare, whatever, just not this.
All right, Jillian joins us right now, and Jillian has got a whole bunch of other headlines.
That's right. Good morning to you guys, to you at home as well. Let's begin with a Fox News alert. The American woman freed after 5 years in terrorist captivity was rushed to the hospital overnight. Caitlin Coleman's husband, Joshua Boyle, confirms the news but wouldn't say why. The couple now living in Canada because Boyle refuses to come to the U.S. He fears he'll be arrested over questions about his previous marriage to the sister of a former Gitmo detainee. The rescue carried out by the Pakistani military, but we have just learned SEAL Team 6 was reportedly ready to act if Pakistan did not. President Trump showing a campaign promise as it comes to life.
A wall on the
These fix-it-up shows is because the average person at home, they're sitting watching the TV in a room and they're thinking, you know what if I took the wall out right there? I can do this, I can do that. Everybody can identify with what you're doing.
Yeah. Sure. You know, it's definitely takes some trial and error, takes a little bit of handiness like we were talking about before, but big picture, we want to push people to take chances. You know, it's not for everybody. Joe always talks about just her experience from a design standpoint, that it takes a little while to get acclimated as to what your style is per se. But I think too many people take other people's advice and implement it only to find out that's not our thing at all.
I don't like that.
But here's the other thing, that very similar to Mike Rowe and John Ratzenberger, you guys have skills that Americans, for the most part, are losing. The ability to build things and create things, and you have a specialized skill. Are you concerned that our country, that we are not learning to do this anymore?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, I talk about that generally in the book. You know, I don't go into the specifics, but I felt like an outsider. I felt odd when I was in college. I would sit and watch outside. I wasn't paying attention, and that was my own fault. That has nothing to do with the positive nature.
What were you studying in college?
I was a business major. Yeah, and so, I mean, you know, now 42 years old, I'm glad that I've got that diploma on the wall. Mom was one of these gals that really pushed me to get that thing, and so she was honored when I crossed the stage. But I remember looking out the window in these business classes and watching the guys pushing the lawnmower to maintain the campus lawn, and I was just like, oh, I'd give my right arm to be one of these guys. And what you just mentioned about Mike, it's like, you know, we've got so much opportunity in the trade universe, and so few people are pushed in that direction. You go to college, you go, you know, become a banker, you become a lawyer, and it's like, what's wrong with being a plumber? What's wrong with being an electrician? Absolutely nothing where I come from. So I appreciate that.
It's so fun because you definitely get your hands dirty, and if you haven't watched the show, he does all the fixing, and then she comes in and
she's got the big picture.
She decorates it beautifully. You know those barn doors that you slide? I see those all the time in houses. You started that.
I don't know if I started.
Yes, you did. I'd never even seen that until your show.
Nobody had ever heard of shiplap before we introduced it to folks here in Waco, Texas.
I didn't know that was so valuable.
That's now become a thing.
Hair?
I like it. I mean, he cleaned up. You know, we've kind of trimmed the beard. I
went to a barber yesterday in your beautiful New York City. They gave me one of these hot towel experience.
Which look do you like better, this one or this one?
Long hair. On the show, it's really short.
There you go. Hey, wait till season 5. Season 5, all of this is coming in its glory, so nobody's going to even recognize me.
But we have another season.
another
That starts in
season,
November.
mid-November.
Yeah.
Yes,
You
we're
shot it
still
already.
filming. We're
Yeah.
still filming right now.
We're
so.
almost done with the filming. It's season 5, starts in November, middle to end of November, goes all the way into 2018. So that's what's so interesting about these announcements is, you got to jump out and say this is our last season, but really we've got a whole almost year together from this point moving forward.
And we'll be watching and picking up your new
Thank
book.
you.
It's called Capital Gains. It has nothing to do with the tax thing they're talking about in Washington.
No, I love the subtitle. Smart things I learned doing stupid stuff.
Hey,
That's
story of my life. Can you relate?
Yes.
You can relate?
Sadly, yes. Unbelievable.
All right, the Gaines family, thank you so much. Just
Thank you
those
for having
beautiful
us.
children.
All right. Meanwhile, straight ahead, a Democratic Congresswoman attacking President Trump this morning for his phone call to the wife and family of a fallen soldier. But there are a lot of